Okay, so let's just jump right in. Before anything, before time, before space, there was just potential. And I want you to picture this endless glowing scrolls of the Torah just floating in this vast primordial darkness. Then this divine light starts scanning the letters, and they don't just light up, they ignite. We're talking living fire, the very DNA of existence itself. And right from this text, galaxies start to bloom, reality just unfolds. And look, this isn't some nice poetic image. This is the mystical understanding of the actual blueprint for everything. And really, this whole deep dive, this entire journey we're about to take, it all comes down to one single mind-bending sentence from the Zohar. He looked into the Torah and created the world. Now, it is so crucial to get this. This is not a metaphor. The Zohar is presenting this as the literal mechanism of creation. It completely reframes the Torah. It's not a history book, it's the master blueprint for reality. And yeah, right there, that's the question that cracks the whole thing open, isn't it? It's a fantastic question. Because, if you're stuck thinking in our day-to-day linear time, it's impossible. A blueprint for a house can't exist before you even have the idea of a house, or wood, or a patch of ground to build on. It makes no sense. But this is exactly where the mystics tell us, whoa, hold on. You have to completely shift your perspective. We're not just talking about the Torah. We're talking about reality itself. It's like we have to step out of the river of time and go look at the spring where it all begins.
Exactly. So to really get this, you've got to forget about the physical scroll you might see in a synagogue for a second. That's a later manifestation. What we're talking about here is something much deeper, a pre-existing divine intelligence. Think of it as the primordial thought of the Creator, fully structured, fully formed, long before it ever became a physical thing in our world.
And the Zohar is surprisingly specific about this. It says the Torah came first, by 2,000 years. Now, obviously, we're not talking about years like we count them with calendars and seasons. It's a mystical term, right? It means vast ages, immense levels of divine thought and conceptualization that had to be perfectly arranged before the first "let there be light" could even happen. This just solidifies it. The Torah isn't an afterthought. It is the absolute original plan.
Right. The sources even personify the Torah. They talk about God consulting with it. There's this one text that calls it Tushia, which means sound wisdom, and it actually shows the Torah advising the Creator. So this tells you it wasn't just some passive document sitting there. It was an active, dynamic intelligence, almost like a partner in the act of creation.
And this primordial Torah, this blueprint, the way it's described is just incredible. Black fire on a background of white fire. Just picture that. This is pure spiritual essence. The white fire is the infinite, boundless divine potential. And the black fire, that's the first moment of structure. The letters themselves, carved right into that potential. It's pure information, pure design, eons before it was ever put down on physical parchment. Okay, so this brings us to what might be the most powerful way for us to understand this today. If the Torah is this ancient primordial blueprint, well, in our language, it is nothing less than the divine source code for all of reality.
Let's really break this down, because it's a fantastic analogy. When the Zohar says God looked into the Torah, you can think about it in two ways. On one hand, he's the architect, looking at the master blueprint where every single law of physics and every structure is already defined. And on the other hand, he's the developer, executing the source code, where every single letter is a command. And when you run that code, it compiles into the living, breathing world we all experience. The universe is literally the program's output.
To make this super tangible, especially for a younger generation, think of it like this. Picture the most insanely complex open-world video game you can imagine. Now, imagine there's a single master book. This book doesn't just describe the game. It is the game. The actual code for every character, every blade of grass, every quest, every law of gravity inside that game, it's all written in this book. If you could read it, you'd be reading the literal substance of that reality. The game world is just the book expressed and running in real time. That's the relationship of the Torah to our universe. And for a more, let's say, technical or adult perspective, we can use this cosmic engineering analogy. The Torah is a full-stack architectural plan. And what that means is it defines every single layer of reality, from the bottom up. The quantum foam, the most fundamental particles, those are the Hebrew letters themselves. The laws of physics, that's the grammar, the way the letters combine. Biological systems are the stories and genealogies. And the vast superclusters of galaxies, those are the grand narratives playing out. Our entire universe is basically the front-end user interface, compiled from this one unified divine code base.
And this is where the source code idea gets even deeper.
The mystics teach that the entire Torah is made up of God's names. Think about that. The words aren't just instructions about reality. The letter combinations are the divine creative forces themselves. Every word can be re-scrambled to reveal a different divine power. It means the text isn't a description of reality, it is reality. In a way, the code and the coder are totally one and the same.
So this is the key question, right? If the Torah is the source code, then what's the programming language? What are the actual fundamental commands that compile into a universe? And the answer isn't in the surface-level stories we read. It's in the characters themselves, the letters that make up those stories. And according to some of the most foundational mystical texts, like the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, the answer is the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Now, we have to be really clear. These are not just arbitrary symbols for sounds. They're understood as the raw spiritual DNA of creation. Each letter is a unique cosmic force, a fundamental particle of spiritual energy. And all of reality, in all of its staggering complexity, is built from these 22 basic forces. And the Sefer Yetzirah actually lays out a 3-stage creative process using these letters. The first step is engrave. That's carving out the initial 22 potentials. The second is hue, shaping distinct individual forms from that raw potential. And the third, the most dynamic, is combine, arranging and permuting these building blocks into the complex words and structures that eventually become our world.
Yeah, and this slide just gives you a small taste of that explosive power of combination. The Sefer Yetzirah has this great analogy. It calls the letters stones, and the words you make from them houses. So with just 2 stones, you can build 2 little houses. But with 3, you can build 6. With just 7 letters, there are already over 5,000 possible combinations. Now, just try to imagine the nearly infinite complexity that explodes into being when you start combining all 22 letters. This is how the incredible diversity of creation just blossoms from a handful of simple, fundamental elements. Okay, so now let's zoom out and see how this programming language actually builds the grand operating system of reality. Because this creative process, it didn't just happen in a single flash. The mystics teach that it unfolded through a 4-tiered cosmic structure, what we call the 4 worlds. And all of them emanate directly from that Torah blueprint. Before we get into the details of each world, it's absolutely critical to understand the flow. These are not 4 separate planets or galaxies out in space somewhere. Think of them more like 4 concentric dimensions of reality, or 4 levels of consciousness. Each one is a step further down in a process of condensation. It's a flow from pure abstract divine thought, which then moves into the realm of speech and finally crystallizes into concrete action. It's the journey from the blueprint to the actual building. So this table right here, this is basically the master key to the whole system. It's incredible. It maps the 4 worlds of creation to the letters of God's holy name, to the different levels of the human soul, and to that creative process we just talked about, from pure thought all the way down to physical action. As we're going to see, each world is a totally distinct level of reality, going from the most abstract and spiritual to the most concrete and physical. This isn't just some chart. It's a map of the entire cosmos, and, as we'll find out, it's also a map of you. So at the very top, you have Atzilut, the world of emanation. This is the realm of pure divine thought. In this world, everything exists only as a unified potential within the divine mind. It's the pure idea of tree or star before they are separated, all united in a single, boundless thought. Its color is white, which represents that pure, unformed potential. Stepping down from that, you get to Beriah, the world of creation. Here, that unified thought from Atzilut begins to separate out into distinct concepts. So the single, unified idea of tree now becomes the specific archetypes of oak, pine, and palm. This is the realm of first speech, where concepts get their own unique identity for the first time. Its color is red, symbolizing that act of separation and distinction. Below that, we find Yetzirah, the world of formation. This is often called the realm of angels. In this world, the archetypes from Beriah are now clothed in specific forms and emotional energy. So the concept of oak is now formed into the specific spiritual force that animates and gives life to all the oak trees in the world. Its color is green, which represents that harmony and life-giving vitality. And finally, we arrive right here, in our world, Asiyah, the world of action. This is the realm of physical manifestation, the final step. Here, all of those spiritual blueprints finally condense and crystallize into the tangible universe that we can see and touch and interact with. Its color is black, which symbolizes the absorption of all those higher, colorful energies into solid physical form. Okay, so after that huge cosmic journey, we have to make a pivot. Because the most mind-blowing part of this entire system is that this grand, four-tiered architecture of all of reality isn't just out there. The mystics teach that it is perfectly mirrored in every single detail within every single one of us. You are not just a speck in the universe. The entire universe is in you. And this is not an exaggeration. The Zohar is completely explicit about this. It says, all the upper and lower worlds and all of reality found within them were created only for the sake of man. I mean, just let that sink in. This places humanity at the absolute center of the cosmic drama. We're not some random accident on a speck of dust in an indifferent universe. No, we are the very reason for its existence, the focal point through which the Creator's entire plan is meant to be realized. And this slide shows the direct parallel. It's a one-to-one mapping. Just as the cosmos flows from thought to speech to action, so does your soul. Your higher intellect, your neshama, is your inner world of thought. Your emotions, your ruach, that's your inner world of formation and energy. And your physical body and your actions, your nephesh, that's your inner world of action. You are, quite literally, a universe in miniature. Okay, so all of this brings us to the ultimate question. So what? What does all this ancient, complex, and profound knowledge actually mean for us, for our daily lives? If we really are a microcosm of all creation, how do we live that reality? How do we live the blueprint? So let's just quickly summarize the blueprint for our own lives. Reality is essentially encoded information. The Torah is the original source code. Every single letter is a live creative force, and you are a perfect microcosm of that entire system. And what this means, practically, is that your thoughts, your words, and your actions are direct inputs into this cosmic program. You are either helping to harmonize the grand symphony of creation, or you're accidentally introducing bugs into the code. And that is the crucial point. The blueprint wasn't just used to create the world and then, filed away in a cabinet. The source code was given to humanity at Sinai so that we could become conscious co-creators. When we study Torah, our minds align with the divine thought of Atzilut. Through prayer, our speech can resonate with the formative power of Yetzirah. And through performing mitzvahs, these physical commandments, acts of kindness, charity, observing Shabbat, our actions right here in Asya interact directly with the source code, drawing down that divine energy through all the worlds and actively taking part in the ongoing perfection of reality. So we'll leave you with this final thought. The mystics teach that the world is a book written by God, but that we were given the pen. If the universe truly is a sacred text, and your life is a sentence within it, what verse are you writing today? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.